Well guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to my stream and another chapter working on this guy right there. That's our Su-57 1/48 scale by Zvezda. From the intro, we'll see what's going on. Alright guys, well we are moving on. We're on the next chapter with this guy. Last time we got some missiles assembled and we finished off the fuselage. Off camera I did another coat of primer on the bottom here just to make sure everything is all sealed in nice and it looks pretty good. I did have to put a little bit of putty along in that little gap there, but it's okay. I think it's about ready to give this thing a coat of paint. What do you say? We're going to do some painting. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my painting camera set up. My wife happens to have my camera holder, and she's borrowing that for her own YouTube channel. So I can't set up my painting cam for you guys. Yeah, I could hold it in one hand and go, hey, look at me. And that's not going to happen though. I'm not going to do that. So what are we going to do? What is the first thing? We're going to go over what the colors are. Let me show you what we are going to do for a paint scheme. You guys have seen pictures of the Su-57, and in fact in my first go around with one of these little birds, you guys saw the digital camouflage pattern that they have on these. You see it all the time in all the pictures of the Su-57, but we're not doing the digital camo this time. We're going to do splinter camo, and we're not doing winter. We're not doing winter. You know, you saw it on the F-16 I built, and yeah, we're not doing that. We're doing a little bit different. We're doing different. Now, I am doing a scheme that these things did come in, or do come in, and so I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. What am I talking about? I'll show you. Show you this guy here. We're doing that. We're going to be doing this, a blue and white splinter camo. That's what we're doing on this guy. Okay, so what colors am I going to be using? Well, let's go over them real quick here. For the white, I'm going to be using Tamiya's LP35 insignia white. That's what we're going to be using for the white. For the lighter blue color, for the lighter blue, we're going to be using Mr. Color 392. This happens to be interior blue for the Su-57. Okay. For the darker blue, we're going to be using Tamiya's XF18. This is medium blue. Okay. In fact, actually, I lied. I'm not using the interior blue. I'm not doing that. For the lighter blue, I'm using a mixture of this with a little bit of white in it to make it a little bit lighter than this normal color. Okay, so it looks a little bit different. It's just a little tiny bit different. I've put it in a Tamiya jar and I put a little color on the top there so you get to see what color that's actually going to be. This is our lighter blue. Okay, so there's three, but we also need to do a gray. As you see in that picture, there's some gray. There's not a lot, but there's a little bit of gray. We've got two different shades of blue, and we've got the white, and we've got gray. Okay, now the gray is our XF87. Okay, XF87 IGN gray. What do they call it? Maizuru Arsenal. Is it Maizuru or Maizuru? I don't know, but it's that one. XF87. Those are the colors that we're going for on this guy. Okay, that's what we're doing. But before we get into any of this color, we've got to do some pre-shading. Okay, and all that's going to consist of is using some of my Mr. Surfacer 1500 black, and we're going to be going over all the paddle lines. Okay, and following it all around. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to move a couple of things out of the way here so I've got room to work. Off camera, I did paint these two missiles. I did paint these white, They're not done, but they're white now. So we're getting there. We're getting there, guys. I did also notice I did make a mistake on the missile pylons that I had assembled last time. I did the wrong ones. These ones are for different missiles. They've got 3 little buttons on the bottom of them, and yeah, they're not for those. So I chose the correct ones and I put those together. They're missile pods. They're 2 halves that go together. It's pretty simple. You guys can do that. Simple. Okay? So I'm going to fire up the air compressor. And I'm going to move a couple of things. See, I got my camera all ready. It's all ready to go, but yeah, I don't have the holder for it to be able to do anything. So I can't do anything. I can, however, I can sort of get you involved in here a little bit. Bring my table over. Got some stuff I need to get off of the table here. I'll just put that down here. Get that out of the way. Okay. And, well, move this a little bit so you can sort of see what I'm doing a little bit. Alright, there we go. You can sort of see my table here. Okay, Mr. Surfacer 1500 black. Straight out of the jar, it's too thick to spray. Okay, you can spray it. You can crank up your air pressure if you really want to. I don't like doing that. I don't like just cranking the air pressure just to spray it. I would rather just thin the paint. So I've put some Mr. Color or Mr. Hobby leveling thinner. This stuff right there. Put that in the jar and mix it about, I don't know, 60-40, something like that in there. It makes it spray down nice and smooth without having to go crazy and crank your air pressure, because that really sucks. The other thing we need to do, I had painted this one engine nozzle, primered it black to get ready for paint, to get the metallic color on there, and I realized I didn't assemble the other one yet. So I had to stop what I was doing and then assemble this one and get the second one done. So since I'm loading up the airbrush with this, I might as well get that painted while we're at it. Okay, so like I said, this is thin. This is going to spray really nice and thin. I wish I had my camera holder so that I could switch the camera so you could watch me paint properly. But you know, maybe I'm just going to have to go on Amazon and get myself a new camera holder so that when my wife borrows the other one, it won't matter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint this right on my finger. So I'm going to put a glove on. Okay, I'm going to put a glove on. Boink! We're going to do it like that. I'm going to paint it like this. Okay. I'm just going to put a coat of black paint on this guy. Just kind of go around like this. You know, thinking ahead would have been a smart thing on my part, but I didn't think ahead. And I apologize for that. I just wanted to start painting, and I wanted to bring you guys along with me. And yeah. And so I did. I just brought you along with me, even though I'm not 100% prepared. So there we go. I got a big black finger, right? Well, yeah, I do, but there we go. That's black, that's ready. All right. I don't need my glove anymore. So I'm going to go over the panel lines on our airplane, we're going to start off with the tail fin, or yeah, start off with one of these. So the idea, let's change the camera here for a moment. The idea is to just follow along the panel lines. Just pretend that you're drawing lines, and that's all we're going to do. And we're just going to follow along, okay? So I'll show you what I mean. Go slow and light. Okay, so this is the idea. This is what I'm going to be doing for the next hour or so. Okay, we're going to be going around the whole thing like this. Okay, so I'll do the same thing on this side, but this is what we're doing. Okay, periodically I'll stop and show you guys a little bit closer what I'm talking about, what I'm doing. Okay. And that's it. So this one's done. It's got two sides on it now. That's done. Simple. Done. That's one done. Let's do the other one here. And there we go. So that's the second one done. It's pretty simple. You know, the hardest thing I find is actually going straight. It's very, my hand, it wants, as I go along, and my hand wants to woo, 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 and not do straight lines. I don't know why my hand does that, but that's a problem I have when it comes to doing this stuff. So let's start on the bottom, shall we? We're just going to go start along here. We're going to work our way around the whole thing, okay? There, I've done one main wing on the other side. You guys see that on the camera there? Right in there? Okay. Now underneath on the bottom here, I'm not really going to be focusing too much. I'm not going to go too heavy-handed on this because it's the underside of the plane. Okay, I'm going to do a lot heavier-handed on the upper side. Okay. I'm getting a little bit of sputtering happening here. And if you're like me and can't paint a straight line to save your life, that's okay, because we're going to follow up later on. I can't paint straight to save my life. But that's all right. Like I said, I'm getting a little bit of sputtering going on. If you're getting sputtering, that means you're not quite thin enough. But the nice thing about this particular technique is we're going to be going over this whole thing with color, and you can emphasize this look, or you can dial it back. Whatever you like. I think the Su-57 has been around for a little while. That seeing these marks in the panels would be a realistic thing. Some of our panel lines are actually a little bit hard to see. That came out heavy because I had to pull back on the trigger to get it to spray. It's not really wanting to spray. Come on, stupid thing. All right. Getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Almost done, guys. At least on the bottom, anyway. Tell you, I'm terrible at spraying a straight line. I really struggle with painting a straight line. Okay, there we go. So here's what it looks like now. Okay, all these nice little lines everywhere. Okay, so now we're going to flip it over and we're going to do top side. Alrighty, that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to do the top. We'll start with the nose, why not? Basically just drawing lines, right? Except you're doing it with an airbrush. Or if you're like me, you're doing squiggly lines, like that. Forgot to change the camera back. What am I doing? Come on. There we go. At least you can sort of see what I'm doing. Where's that line go? It's all the way back here. Normally, I would tell you guys that Mr. Cobbler, Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black lays down super smooth, but I'm kind of struggling to get this to paint nicely today. Maybe my mixture isn't the best right now. But that's okay. And my skill at painting straight lines, yeah, could be a heck of a lot better. You know, I do kind of feel like I'm a little kid trying to stay within the lines, and I'm not doing a very good job of it. But you know what? I chalk it up to this. It's not, my channel is not here to teach you guys how to paint. That's not what I'm here for. And because I have no business trying to teach anyone how to paint. At least with an airbrush anyway. I could teach you technique, but skill is a whole nother thing. And skill is something I don't have a whole lot of when it comes to airbrushing. As you can plainly see. I just know the technique you're supposed to do. the things along the engines don't really I don't have to worry about those at all. The engines get a lot of metallic on them. We're not going to have to worry about that. And that is that. I'm going to go along here where this separates our tail fin. Like that. And we're going to call that almost done. Okay guys, that's that. Alright, so there we have it. There's our Su-57 pre-shaded. So you guys watching live, you get to watch me clean my airbrush out. You guys who are watching on YouTube, you get to cut, or you get to just keep watching because I'm going to cut it for you right about here. So, I like to save the paint, even if it is getting thick in the bucket, in the cup, in the whatever, in the shut up. Shut up, shut up. Why are you telling them to shut up? Because, shut up. Because when my paint is kind of sputtering and spattering on me, I find that frustrating. And, yeah. I do. I find it frustrating. Because it's, you know, I have been painting long enough to know, to have a pretty good idea on what my paint mixtures need to be to have a pretty decent painting experience. And so when I do something and I think I've done it according to the way I normally do, and the paint starts acting funny on me, I get a little frustrated. That's just me. I find things like that bug me just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to get a clean paper towel because it's time for a clean one. I like to, especially with a color like black, I want that clean right out of there. I want this to be clean because the next color we're painting is white. There's not a lot of white on this plane, but there's enough. There's enough white. And I need to make sure, because if I get black mixed with the white, guess what? I've now got gray. And I don't want gray. I want white. Okay, I think we're clean enough to we are clean enough to start with our nice color. Okay, let's just make sure get all the black out of there. We're still gonna go ahead and, you know, I'm not just gonna put white in there and start spraying because that's ridiculous. That would be ridiculous. Okay, so we got about 20 minutes left. We're gonna spray the insignia white, okay? Because I want to move from a light color down to the dark because it's a lot easier to cover lighter colors. Okay, so that's why we're going to start with the white. Now, there's not a lot of white on this, but there's enough. Let's take a look at this again. So basically, mostly over the whole wing, top of the wing, right? And then of course, this is the underneath. But yeah, it's in the same kind of spot over the main wings and on our nose. Our nose is white, okay? So we're going to do some white and we're going to do that. And I'm going to keep this picture, I'm not going to keep it open there because then you guys can't watch me, but I do want to have that picture open. So let me just see here. There we go. So I can look at this. Whoops. So I can look at this while I'm painting. Okay. So insignia white. I believe I need to mix this up. I don't think I have it pre-mixed already. So I'm going to get a cup, a mixing cup right here, and I'm going to put some white in here. Yeah, that's looks a little thick in there. Yeah. That's probably enough for what we need to do. Okay. What am I doing? What am I doing? I am getting some leveling thinner. Kind of 50-50. It's okay to get a little thinner than that. It's fine. Can mix this up. Okay. Thin like milk. Thin like milk. That's what you want. Okay. All right. Pour this into the cup. Oh, I'm gonna put my needle back in. Actually, I'm going to change airbrushes. I'm going to pop this off. I'm going to use my airbrush with the 0.5 needle. We're going to get more coverage in a shorter amount of time. I'm basically just covering most of the wings. We're going to avoid the engines. Okay? At least as best as we can. Basically looking at, let's put this aside here. Pretty much we're looking at all along here, cutting back to here, coming back up, coming in like this, around here in this area. We're going to section like this. It's kind of like rectangles, right? Like that. We've got a big section that we don't need to do here. Actually, on the top we do. We're going to be going all the way back. Basically the same thing, like that. But first things first, we're going to do our nose, okay? So, and I just went way too heavy on that. That came out way too heavy and strong. So, let's give that a quick wipe. Be a little more careful. And that's a good indication of how thin I have it. Which means it's a little too thin. But that's okay. We can deal with thin because we can build it up. We can always build up. It's a lot harder to go back. We can deal with it when it's thin. For the nose, I really should be using my other airbrush. Because I can get in between the lines really a lot easier. And really fine-tune the shading. But it's quite all right. So we give it a minute to dry, and then we come back to it, and we can refine our lines and our shading. That's looking a lot better. We're getting there. Okay. Okay, so we're going to work on our wings. Let's get some color on our wings here. You know, basically the shape that we're going for, it's going to go all the way back to here. Kind of like, let's see, sort of kind of like this. This area, we're going to go all the way up. Got to point this in the direction of the all the way up to here, and then we're going to come down a little bit this, and then go back up. And come back over here like this. So, big areas like this we can do. This is all going to be white, all in here, all this area here. All that's white. Okay. So we're doing layers, we're going slow, we're not trying to go too heavy. If you go too heavy, you're going to start getting big spots on it that you don't want. I'm coming back with the white a lot farther than I need to, so that when I come in with different colors and I start having to do masking, well, the white will already be covered, and I won't have to come back and like recover a spot that I missed. Okay, let's come into these little areas here with our little ovals. Right now it kind of looks like crap, right? It doesn't look very good at all, but that's okay. Slowly we're building up our layers of white, and we're going to cover this black. We're going to cover these black lines so that they're very subtle. Okay. That's kind of the beauty of this whole procedure, is turning what looks like a real kind of mistake into a very subtle little masterpiece. Just doing a quick little check to see how far forward I need to come with the white. Change my direction of here so I don't get, so my lines are nice and consistent. So with every coat I do, I'm covering up my black panel lines just that little bit. I realize, yes, it takes a lot to cover the black with the white. That is not lost on me. clearing out there. Start working on this side now. I think you guys get the idea, right? You guys get the idea. Now, why am I doing circles? Because circles kind of gives it that sort of a mottled look that, you know, the paint's not perfect anymore. It's not a straight out of the assembly plant look anymore. The plane has seen some time on the tarmac, you know? It's got some sun bleaching to it. Now let's see how we're looking over here. It's basically got to paint. This has to be right along there. I'm going to say it's almost the same here. Say this, just when you think that you've maybe eliminated all of your black lines that you did before, as soon as this kind of dries, all of a sudden those black lines appear back underneath. Now you can make it as subtle or as distinct as you want. I want to go a little bit subtle. I don't want to totally eliminate all of those little ovals, but at the same time, I just only want a hint of them. You know what I mean? And especially I want to leave some because we are going to be coming in with different colors over top of them. It's going to kind of cover it up. Do my little mottled look over on this side here. There we go. Okay, we're going to go back to our nose here. Just give this another little go around. Okay. You guys get the idea of what I'm doing here. On the underside, I want to go a little more subtle. Okay, you guys get the idea. There's the top. We're going to finish this off with just the white, and that's where I'm going to leave it. Okay, I'm going to work on the bottom here, but this is where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. You get this, you get the idea. This is what we're doing. I'll change the camera just so you can see a little better. Okay, we're going for subtlety. I am going to keep on working on this and do a little bit more just to make that a little more subtle, because that's what we're going for. We're going for subtlety, right? It's to make this look a little bit weathered, but not that much. I want that kind of subtlety back here, okay? But that takes layers, and you got to build it up and build it up and build it up, and that's what it's going to do. And that takes time and patience, and so that's what we got to do, right? It's what we got to do. So this is where I'm going to leave it for you guys. I want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate that, okay? I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for the journey. Thanks so much, guys. I'm going to continue on this off camera, and we'll see you all in the next one.